Okay, so let's do a recap of the last class. So we're gonna have this file O1. I'm gonna drag and drop and open the file over here. Okay, so we see a mismatch between my system and the file. The difference will be the gamma and loot correction. I will adopt the file gamma and loot settings. Okay, so this will be the scene. If I will hold down Alt, I'm also gonna start the mouse track software. So if I'm gonna hold down Alt, I will see that the flat will only have the surfaces visible from only one direction. So in order to fix that, I can select one of the building facade, and I can go up to modify, and I can add a shell. So by adding some thickness to this, even if it's only 1 millimeters, I will be able to have the shape, the geometry rendered on both sides. Also, there are some materials. So if we're gonna go to slate material, we're gonna see that we can define also two-sided materials. So currently we have more maps applied over here. So we have the diffuse one, but we also have some normals over here. I'm gonna disable the shading. So currently it's set to standard. I'm gonna go up to performance, and after that again to standard. And we're gonna see that our texture no longer has that roughness. If I'm gonna go again to high quality, we're gonna have that roughness applied to the scene. Also, from the other scene with the train, we now also have some lighting in the scene. Over here we see some surface that was generated because of the shell. So for now I'm just gonna remove that shell, and we're gonna have the building like this without that surface. Okay, so we also have a light within the scene. If I'm gonna select this Omni 01, I'm gonna go to select and move, and now I have the possibility to move the lighting within the scene. So maybe, for example, if I want to position the light within the building, so again I'm gonna select that. I can see the inside of the building. Also the shading and the shades on the ground from the windows. I can also multiply the lighting by going up to, let's do a duplicate. So to do that, I'm just gonna have it selected. I'm gonna hold down Shift, and I'm gonna copy an additional light source over here. Okay, so for this scene we want to add a police car within this. So first I'm gonna remove the second light. I'm gonna position this something like this in the front of the flat, and I'm gonna disable the shadow so that we are gonna work better on the scene. So I'll go up to standard. Okay, so the first thing is I'm gonna freeze the floor, so similar to the last scene. I'm gonna go over here, right click, and after that go to freeze selection. Now I will select the block, and I will go and group it. So group, I will call it maybe block 1. And now we are gonna add the car within the scene. So the car will be in this folder called Machina Object OBJ, and I will gonna drag and drop this police car within the scene. And I'm gonna click on merge because I wanna maintain the original scene. We see that the file has, let's say, it was saved in a previous release of 3ds Max. You can also click don't display this message if you are using older models, I'm just gonna click on OK, and I'm gonna see that I can position the car within the scene. So I'm just gonna drop it somewhere over here. I'm gonna move it aside from the building block, and now we are gonna define a cube. So I'm gonna go up to box, and the cube will have the length of 5 meters. So I'm gonna go to modify length. I'm gonna type in 5000. Okay, for all the axes. We're gonna use this cube to scale the car. So we see that our flat is at scale. We can consider that maybe the first floor has something like 3.5 meters, and after that over here we're gonna have the 5 meters. Currently it's set in perspective view like this, but we can always go to orthographic view. So if you wanna scale the height, you're gonna see that the building has somewhere around 12 meters. I'm gonna go back to the original height of 5 meters. And after that, since it's set to orthographic, I can hide the grid by pressing the G key like this. And also I can go back to perspective by pressing the P key. Okay, so the imported car, we see that has some links between. So we have the body and the 4 wheels. The wheels are already linked to the body. That means that if I'm gonna scale down the car by going up to select an uniform scale, so be careful over here because you can also squash the car. So you can squash it like this, so maybe you will deform it and make it look more cartoony. You can always press the R key multiple times until you're gonna see the original scaling. So the first one will be this one, select an uniform scale, and this will ensure that you won't deform the car as long as you're gonna drag it in the middle. So keep in mind that you can also deform it with this if you're just gonna go on 2 axes. Okay, so I'm gonna undo that so my car won't be squashed. So I pressed Ctrl Z multiple times, and currently I see that it is set to 100 for the scaling for each axis. This means that the car isn't squashed and deformed. So with the car selected, I'm gonna press Alt A to go to Quick Align, and I'm gonna click on the box. And we're gonna center the align position toward on all 3 axes over here at the top, and we're gonna center it. So current object will be center, target object center. And we're gonna hit OK. And now I'm gonna start scaling by going up to R for scaling, and I'm gonna scale this car down to 5 meters. So you can go and zoom in further. We see that, okay, again I'm gonna remove the shading by going to standard, so we can visualize the car better. So we see the front grille is still present over here, but doesn't have a lot of, let's say, surface that is more than 5 meters. Also in the back we see that we have some areas, and currently it's pretty close to 5 meters. We can always maybe go and position it a little bit like this, and now we have the back. So this is quite around, let's say, 5 meters. And I'm gonna position the car on the surface. We are not gonna delete this box that we used to scale. We are gonna use it to define a gate between 2 blocks. And we're gonna talk about some snapping. This is why I decided to pick these models. So the following thing will be to define a copy of the block. So I'm gonna select it. I will be in select and move, so W, and I'm gonna hold down shift and drag on the y-axis and define a new copy of the building. I'm gonna hit OK, and now I'm gonna snap this box on this corner of the building. So to do that, I can manipulate the box somewhere closer, so something like this. Again, I will go to P to have the perspective. It was in orthographic mode before. And now let's take a look at snapping in 3ds Max. So we already talked about angle snap during the last class. So I'm gonna go up to snap toggle. So it will be this one, the tree and the magnet. And I'm gonna disable grid point snapping, and we're gonna go to vertex snapping. You don't have to click any apply for the grid settings. You can just close the menu. And let's see how snapping works. So first we need to start it either by pressing S, and we see that it will be in blue, indicating that this is active currently, just like select and move. Okay. And if I'm going to position my mouse on the box, I'm going to see that a little white yellow crosshair will appear near the white mouse cursor. And if I'm going to move along my mouse over there, I'm going to see the icon will change. So it will look similar to the select and move icon. So you need to be patient with this, and you're going to select that vertex, hold down left click, and you're going to snap it in position on the building. So this lower vertex. We're going to do the same for the second building that we copied. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go on that corner from the left. I'm going to hold down left click, and I'm going to snap it in position on the box. Okay, so now let's apply the texture. Also, I just reinstalled 3ds Max 2022, and I'm gonna go up to, so I'm gonna press F10 to go to render setup. I'm gonna just see if okay, so I drag the other window in OBS, so assign the renderer, and I see that it's still set to scanline renderer. If for some reason it's maybe on Arnold or maybe Art Render, you can change it over here at the bottom, assign render for production and for active shading. We're gonna stick to scanline renderer for now, since we are gonna move the models to other software. Okay, so I'm gonna close this. Again, I clicked on that OBS screen. I'm gonna close it over here. I'm gonna press M for the materialator. If you just reinstalled, maybe for you it went to slate materialator. So we can go back to the simplified version of the materialator by going to compact material. And over here I'm gonna select an empty slot. You can also cycle between multiple sample slots by going to options and over here. I'm going to select the second material, and I will go to the diffuse section, and we're going to add a map over here. When we can see this empty square, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to type in bitmap. So it's important that we use this bitmap from Maps General, not the other type of bitmaps. And I'm going to select that file. It will be in L3 in maps, and it will be this gate blueprint, so black and white picture. I'm gonna open that, and we are gonna assign that to the box. So we can either drag and drop from the materialator to the viewport. After that, I will release the mouse button, and by default we see that the texture is not visible in the scene. We need to activate this show shaded material in viewport, and this will enable us to visualize it. Now, since our primitive was a box, by applying a texture to a box, the image will be mapped on each facet of the cube. So I will only want to have that reference maybe positioned on front. We could also use a plane for this. So I can quickly define a plane, maybe go with auto grid and have this texture. So that I wouldn't have to maybe, okay, I will remove that snapping, and we can easily map this, since we are going to use it just as a reference. But I wanted to show you how you can add the texture only to some faces in 3ds Max. So only to keep this face with the texture, we can select it, we're going to convert to editable poly, and after it's converted, it no longer has that cube texture faces assigned. And we can easily go to element as a selection. You can also press on 5 for this to activate it. I will select the whole element. After that, I will swap to polygon selection, so it will be this icon over here, selection. I can also press on 4. I will hold down Alt and I will click on the front face. So that will mean that that face will be deselected, while the other faces of the box will be selected. And I'm just gonna assign them a color from the material editor. So I will pick the following one, standard 3, and I'm just gonna apply that. And you will see that our face that wasn't selected maintain its original texture from the box. You can also change the color over here. You can choose a diffuse color based on hue and whiteness. So maybe I'm gonna make it something like this, green. And after that, I will click on create, and this will finish that part. Now we see that our reference for the gate is quite scaled on the z-axis. If you're gonna take a look at the original maybe reference for this, it was something like this. So we see it's a much wider proportion for this gate. So to fix that in 3ds Max, we're gonna go to UV mapping, but only for this face. So I can just have the box selected, and since I know that it was converted to editable poly, I can just press 4, and that will enable me to go again to face selection. And I'm gonna select only the front face. And up at the modifier list, I'm gonna go first modify, then on the drop down for the modify list, I'm gonna type in UVW map, so it will be this one. And we'll see that the projection will be planar from the top. That means that I'm gonna have this texture like this. I can easily change that by going to a box projection. After that, I'm gonna click on the left view on the view cube, or I can press directly the L button on the keyboard. So now, in order to manipulate the texture over here, we are gonna need to select over here this small triangle to unpin this, and we're gonna see that the UV mapping has a gizmo. So once you're gonna click on this gizmo, you will now manipulate the texture within the surface. So if I'm gonna go to select and move, I will be able to move it. If I will go to rotate, I will be able to rotate the texture within the surface. If I'm gonna go to scale, I can scale it. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wanna make the gate height somewhere over here at the top of the window. So that means that first I'm gonna squash the texture like this. After that, I'm gonna scale it a bit, and I'm gonna reposition it. So maybe something like this. For the reference, we don't have the hinges on the left side, but we have them on the right side. And we wanna have those also modeled over here. By default, this is still selected in red since it's selected, but you cannot always have that. Okay, so maybe it won't allow us to have it deselected, but as soon as we are gonna finish the positioning part of the texture, we'll be able to visualize the image without that red highlight. So I'm just gonna have this scale a bit more, maybe position on the x-axis closer to this position. And now we see that the height is quite okay, so we can always move it a bit if not. And after you finish positioning the sketch, you're gonna have to click on this button, so the little plus sign over here, and that will enable that process to be finished. So now, having this reference, we are gonna quickly use some primitives to build this gate. We are not gonna use a snap like we did for the blocks to position it perfectly. We're just gonna roughly have it modeled. So I'm gonna go to box, auto grid, and now I will start the first box from this side. So I have this position, and after that, if I'm moving my mouse up and down, I can see that the height is being adjusted. So if I will go at the top, it will increase, and over here it will go into negative. So maybe for this I will keep it like this for now. I see that it's 600. I will go to modify. It's always a good habit to change the values, not over here. For this case, will also affect this item, but it's usually better to go to modify, and here are the exact coordinates for the already created box. I will set the height to 200, so it used to be 600 when we modeled that, so this will be quite large. I will type in 200. I can also change the color, so maybe make it something like this. And now for the other elements, I see the length and the width dimension over here. I can either go between scaling and moving to define this, so by scaling from the middle like this, have it reposition, and after that scale it again, and maybe again reposition that. But if you want to have let's say more precision, you can always convert this to edit poly. You can either make it destructive by going down to convert to editable poly. That will no longer maintain the box history, or you can also add an edit poly over here. And this will maintain the box properties, and also will allow you to have vertex and other selections. So for example, if I will pick vertex selection, I will drag this, so you're gonna drag with the mouse like this. It's not required to hold shift. You will also get the vertex on the back. So just by doing this, we're gonna see that we have the two front vertex selected, and also the two at the back. Okay, so again, I'm gonna go to left view, go to Z to zoom on that, and you can easily reposition that. Okay. Also, if you want to see the image at the back, you can press Alt and X, and that will go to transparency mode, and you can better see the image at the back. So I'm gonna select this also over here, and if you no longer want to have the transparency, again you're gonna press Alt and X, and you have this possibility to re-enable it as default. So for the other sections, I will use this one. So I'm gonna scale this, go to copy. After that, I'm gonna scale down. Okay, so maybe something like this. I can press Alt and X, so I can go, let's say, maybe closer to the reference. And again, I will reposition one at the top. So we still have two that will be vertical, so we can always copy one, go to snapping. We see that it's set to 5. I can keep it to 5, but I can also put 90 over there, or I can go to rotate, and I can manually input a rotation at the bottom. But for me, I'm just gonna activate snapping toggle, and I'm gonna rotate it since it's already set to 5. So this will be 90. After that, I'm gonna reposition it maybe over here. I will press 1, so that means I will have the possibility to go to the vertex selection. Since it's already has applied that edit poly, since the original box at the bottom already had that. I'm gonna also copy one over here in this side, have that again copy. We're gonna do the same for the small for the smaller gate on the left of the reference. I can also use the one at the bottom, have it over that position, and after that we're gonna scale that, so maybe somewhere like that. Okay, so this is good enough, and now we only have the other sections. So again, I'm gonna scale that down, have it positioned over here. If you have this maybe way outside, we can always select that, go to create, go to the other one, and again you can have those realigned. Okay, at the top we're gonna have this section. So for these two elements I can start again with a box. I will go with this one, have a copy of that, scaled on X, reposition, again scaled some more, reposition, and now I'll do a scaling onto axis at the same time, and now maybe only on the top axis. So this will be for that gate, and another smaller one for this one. So I'm gonna press Alt and X to go to transparency and have that in position. Okay, so we have the frame defined. Now we're gonna tackle the elements inside. So I'm gonna go to cylinder with auto grid enable, and even if I wouldn't have that enabled, if I'm gonna start on the floor, I will define the radius, after that the height, and I will go to the left. So I will press Alt and X to better visualize the blueprint. So maybe the radius will be something like 40, and the height something like this, 2200, and this will be quite okay for our reference. We can always do the same for the cylinder, so we can go to edit list, so to modify, and from the list I'm gonna pick edit poly, click on one, so press 1 on keyboard, and then we can manipulate the top quite easily, and we can do the same for the bottom. Over here we're gonna have an overlap into the frame, so it doesn't matter exactly if we position it over here or over here. So we have the cylinder defined. Now I want to align it to the gate, so it will be positioned in the middle. That means I can press quick align, so Alt and A. I will click on that box, and I can disable the Z-axis for this. And after that, from the left side, I will only need to put it on the X-axis. I could have also have that disabled, only the green axis, though I was important for the centering. And we see that at the top we have a cone, so we are gonna define that cone. I can put it directly with auto grid on top. So maybe for the first radius something like 60. At the top I will make it quite sharp, so I will go maybe to 1, and the height maybe 175. We see that it's not aligned, so I'm gonna have the cone selected, press again quick align, Alt and A, click on the cylinder, and it's important that we don't gonna have the Z position selected, and this will be now perfectly aligned with the cylinder. Now I can have those two elements selected. I can go to group them, and we are gonna pattern them over here, so by holding down Alt, I can do 2 instances at a time over here and have it position over here. Maybe add some more, and after that I will just have them reposition according to the blueprint. Okay, so we need 3 more. I'm gonna position this over here, this one over here, and this one. Okay, and I need one more. Okay, so this will be those elements. Now for this section we can use a spline. So I'm gonna go up to create, line. I'm gonna set it to smooth and smooth. Now I'm gonna start the shape over here, and I'm gonna try to go in the middle. So have the auto grid selected, line, smooth, smooth. Let me recreate that. Okay, now it should work. We're gonna position some points. If you want to pan, you can always hold down the scroll button. You can pan while you are dragging some lines in 3ds Max. Also, if you're gonna press on backspace, it will always go one vertex backwards. So keep that in mind also, backspace to go back while you are drawing. But you can also always reposition the vertex. At the end I'm gonna press escape key, and now since you want to have this visualized within the scene, by default the line has this rendering section that isn't like this expanded. So I'm gonna click on that, and we can either enable it in renderer, so that means that only when I'm gonna press F9 and I will go to render, I will see that over here. So this means enabling renderer. Enabling viewport will be active over here, but keep in mind, if you are gonna save this file and you're gonna transfer it to maybe Unity or Unreal Engine, you will have to convert this into an editable poly so that it will have a mesh. If not, only the line will be transferred to that software. So this enabling viewport only works in 3ds Max viewport. And over here we have the profile, so we can go for a radar profile, maybe something like 15 RKs. And after that we can always go and manipulate the vertex by pressing 1, but currently I'm seeing the thickness. I'm gonna close that. Okay, let me retype that. And for the line, if you wanna select the vertex, you can go over here to vertex, and that will enable you to pick various vertices. Now you can also do something like this. You can select them and have them reposition. If you don't know exactly where the vertex are, you can always press F3 and you're gonna see them like this, but you're gonna have to toggle between the F3 key in order to see the reference easily. Okay, so we see this point over here, and we can realign them as we desire. Okay, we can do the following. For this one, we can have it copied. After that, we can mirror it on X, have it positioned, and we see over here there are some differences, and maybe this vertex will go over there, this one over here. The next vertex will be this one, and again we can reposition them according to the drawing. Now, since we use AutoGrid and we started from the cube, if I'm gonna go with Z and focus on one, I'm gonna see that this plane, half of it is overlapped on the cube and the other section is visible. So the same thing, we are gonna do that. We're gonna align it maybe with this, and after that go back over here. Okay, so it was important that we align it on the x-axis, as we can see over here. So again, with this one, I'm just gonna align it on x, not on y. So that means I don't have to to reposition it. We can do the same for the bottom elements, but I will keep it like this for now. So we only have the hinges of the door. I'm gonna go to box, have a box created over here. I can also set the height to 200, but I will do it over here. This will be the height of the box. And now for the cylinder, I can use one over here. I can have that ungrouped. Copy this, and after that I can quickly scale it down and have it reposition over here. So this will be the hinge. I can have that selected, grouped. I will call it hinge. I'm going to go at the bottom and position the hinge. Then select both of them and have them copied over here, and we're just gonna mirror them along X. Okay, so we see that over here we have a small gap. We can always have this ungrouped, maybe reposition the box and have it scaled. I will do the same at the bottom, group, ungroup, move it a bit and scale it a bit. Or even faster, I can use this one, since it's already the desired size. Okay, now I'm gonna hide this reference. We can also use some layers, but for this introductory scene we don't gonna go up to layers to organize the scene. I'm gonna right click and go to hide selection, so over here. Now we're gonna take a look at the door. I'm gonna have it all selected and translated on the x-axis. So like this, hold down Alt, deselect the two blocks, and have the gate position somewhere over here. I'm gonna also add maybe, let's say, a gray color for this gate, so it looks better only in one color. Now we're gonna do the grouping and define the animation. So I will have this small left door selected, and I can hold down Alt and have elements deselected. You can also go to isolation mode by pressing Alt and Q. This will only isolate the selected objects, and we know that the hinges shouldn't be selected over here, and also this, and this is from the other gate. Again, I can Alt isolate one more. You can isolate multiple times, and you can rotate and check your selection. So we know that this will be the door on the left. I can group that. I will call it, let's say, maybe gate 1. After that, I will right click and go to end isolate. I'm going to do the same for the second gate. So this will be gate 1. Again, a rectangle select from here, and with Alt I'm gonna deselect stuff that I don't want to have selected over here. And I know that this is all the geometry of the second gate that we have modeled. It will be gate underline 2. We are gonna end this isolate. And now to define the animation, we just need to adjust the pivot points of the door. So by default, if I'm gonna select, let's say maybe the large door, if I will go to rotate, I will see that my gate will rotate like this from the middle. The same with the smaller one. So we need to adjust the pivot point. So that means that point we're gonna need to have it translated along the axis of the cylinders of the hinge. So to do that, I'm gonna go to left view with the small gate selected, and the hierarchy tab is positioned over here. So we're gonna see the hierarchy button. I'm gonna go to affect pivot only, and now we have the possibility to have that moved. So I'm gonna press on W and I will position it over here that it will be on the same axis as the cylinder. You can also use the align object and use the axis of the cylinder for this step. Okay, we're gonna do the same for the large gate. Go to hierarchy, affect pivot only, and I'm gonna have that reposition over here. It doesn't matter on the y-axis where exactly you're gonna position the door. So this should be fine. So now we can define the animation. So for this, I will go first at the time configuration and let's add some more time. Currently we only have 100 frames at an FPS of 30. So I will define a 10-second animation. So I go to end time 10 for seconds, 0 for frames, and I will click OK. And I see that the timeline has been rescaled. We also see that within the scene the light has an animation, so the light will move within the scene. If you don't like that and if you want to remove that, you can select the light, and over here we're going to see that animation of the light. So keep in mind, in 3ds Max always the selected element will have the animation at the bottom. So I'm gonna have the animation for the lighting delete because I don't want my light to change within the animation. So again I will go to standard so I won't have any shading. So for the car we are gonna use the same spline as the one for the train. So go to shape, line. For this line I will disable enabling viewport because I only want a spline that controls the path of the car. I don't want to have it rendered or visible in the viewport. So I'm going to drag a spline over here, so maybe something like this. You can always adjust it along the way afterwards. So this will be the spline. I will have the car selected and go to animation, constraint, path constraint, and I'm going to position the car to follow the path. If you remember from the last class, we are going to click on follow and we're going to search for the axis. So in this case it will be y-axis and also flipped. And to control the position of the car, we're just gonna need to increase the z-axis position. So we can also go something like this until the tires are no longer clipping in the floor. So now if we're gonna play the animation, we're gonna see that the car will follow that path and it will go in the desired position. You can always reposition the vertex. You can also refine them, just like in the last video with the train. So maybe I will reposition it something like this. And now we want to do some timing. So as the car is moving toward the scene, maybe somewhere over here we would want the gate to open. So for this case I will open both gates, but I will start with this one, with the large one. So it's really important that you define you will go in time, so somewhere over here, and starting from this position we are going to add animation. So we'll go to auto key, you can press N, so this will be the hotkey for auto key, and it's important that we're going to add a key like over here, so it will be K. So set keys. This will help the software understand that starting from this position we want the software to auto position key on the timeline. If you're not going to press this, it will always go on the first frame. So I clicked on that, I see that the positions are there registered, and let's scrub into the timeline, and maybe somewhere around here, maybe around 0 for 0 in my case. This depends on the shape of your spline. I would like the gate to be open, let's say maybe 90 degrees. So I'm just gonna go to rotate, and I'm gonna have this rotate 90 degrees. After that, I'm gonna disable auto key, and we're gonna check our animation. So we see that the car is moving along, and it will open over here. So in this case, it's not important that we also open the smaller pedestrian gate, but you can also do that. And maybe somewhere around here we want to close the door. So we apply the same principle. We scrap the timeline. We decide the starting point of the rotation. So maybe something like this, 624 in my case with this spline. I'm gonna go to auto key again, set keys. So this will position those elements over there. We see the filters for rotation. You can also filter them over here, but by default it will be position, it will be red, rotation the green one, and scale over here. But you can also, in our case, only rotation is important. You can have them refined. So somewhere along this, maybe 7 minutes 15 frames, I'm gonna have the door close back to 90. And we can now scrub within the animation, and we will see that it works as intended. You can also do maybe an animation with the smaller pedestrian. Also you can add some rotation to the wheels, because currently the car is just sliding along the path. The wheels aren't rotating. Okay, so this will be the file. So I want to go to downloads, and let's take a look at this. So this is L3. So this is a video from one of my students. Let's take a look at that. It should start. It was recorded with a mobile phone on the screen, and we see the same scene with the police car, the blocks, and the gate. Okay, so let me restart that. You see how the duration was set to 30. So it has additional models for maybe the lighting over here, also some lights position within that cast some interesting shadows. So this is set to high quality, but this is still preview mode with the mobile phone record on the screen. We can have it exported and maybe then have it transferred to maybe web platform or Unity, or maybe some VR glasses. Okay, so I hope you find this video useful to understand let's say some aspects regarding keyframe animation and modeling and snapping and all the stuff that we talk about in this video. Okay, so if you find this video useful, feel free to leave me some comments, and also maybe subscribe. Okay, thanks.